Hi there everybody, John here, and this is the next installment of my video blog, and seeing as it's just very soon, I thought I would do a quick little video blog about why I have absolutely no intention of buying the Star Wars, the complete saga, on Blu-ray. Now, first of all, let me say this. I've been reading a lot of backlash from a lot of people online talking about how very angry at George Lucas for making all the changes to Star Wars, changing dialogue, changing music, inserting entirely brand new scenes, inserting CGI, all this kind of stuff. And I've seen the argument made that, Star Wars doesn't belong to him, it belongs to the fans. And while I appreciate that sentiment, let's get this out of the way first. No, it doesn't. Star Wars does belong to George Lucas. It's his. It's his baby. He created it. He crafted it. And it's to him that we owe our thanks for all these great, wonderful childhood memories that we had growing up with Star Wars. Star Wars does belong to him. And he has every right to make every change that he wants to that movie. It doesn't matter if he wants to put the Cowardly Lion from Wizard of Oz digitally in, replacing Chewbacca. If he wants to do that, he has every right to do that. So let me get that out of the way first. But, like I said at the beginning, I have absolutely no desire and no intention of buying this abomination. And it is an abomination. You see, while George Lucas has the complete right to make any changes he wants to it, it's his. And I acknowledge that. I have the complete right to reject it. Look, these movies that have come out on Blu-ray right now, these are not the movies I grew up with. They've been changed and altered so much. And you know what? Back in the day, about, I don't know if it was 10 or 15 years ago when the Star Wars Special Edition came out, I really didn't have a problem with some of the changes. I fooled myself into thinking it was totally fine. Look, a few digital improvements here and there, making some of the special effects look better, maybe cleaning up some of the sound. I mean, I get all that, and I still do to this day. But this whole thing of that music number put in Jabba's palace, the changing of the Ewoks music, the fact that Greedo shot first, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And now he's changed it even more for the Blu-rays. It's to the point now these are unrecognizable from the films I grew up with. I want to own Star Wars on Blu-ray. I want to have a high-def, beautifully, remastered rendition of my favorite films of all time, the original Star Wars trilogy. But these things that they're releasing on Friday are not it. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't the movie I grew up with, and therefore I have no intention whatsoever of buying it. I talked on a podcast last week about how back in, I think, 1988, George Lucas wrote this impassioned letter to Congress about how, people changing movies by adding color to black and whites or changing lines of dialogue. It is an attack on the cultural heritage of America. Now, granted, he was talking about, people other than the copyright holders taking movies and making changes, but the principle was still the same. George Lucas was making an impassioned plea that changing classic movies is an attack on America's cultural heritage. And I agree with him. The problem is he stopped agreeing with himself. And he's taken these wonderful movies, made all these changes. Now, look, if he wanted to release this version, this new abomination version of Star Wars, and yet at the same time release the original beautiful masterpieces of Star Wars, and want to release them both in two different DVD sets or Blu-ray sets so we as fans have the choice, I'd be fine with that. I don't care that there's 18 different versions of Lord of the Rings that you can get. I'm not forced to buy them all. I can just buy the one I want. But George took these movies, turned them into this twisted, sick abomination that no longer look like these classics I grew up loving to death. He took away the originals. He doesn't even give us the option of getting the originals anymore. And to me, that is really sad. I mean, I make the argument with people all the time who complain about remakes. I'm like, who cares if people do a remake? Even if the remake sucks, you still have the original. The problem with Star Wars is we don't have the originals anymore. George Lucas took that away from us. And because of that, and the fact that these things are abominations, I have no desire to buy or purchase anything that says Star Wars on them anymore. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, the real Star Wars, a true fan of Star Wars, I'd encourage you to ditch these things too. Anyway, that's just my thought. That's my installment for the video blog. Thanks for joining me. I'm John Campea.